Good evening everyone, Abyssful Goats here, and with the new tins out I can finally showcase the deck I've been playing for over a year now, which is Labyrinth. Now, I'm sure a lot of you came to know this channel from my Labyrinth deck profile, which is my biggest video on this channel, and also a couple months after that video came out I started playing the deck myself, because I love grindy decks, I love control decks, I love decks with a bunch of trap cards, and I love Dark Fiends, so this deck was nothing was a no-brainer for me. However, the reason I haven't shown this channel till now is because I didn't have access to rollbacks because they were quite pricey at the time. Now, however, with the tins, the cards dropped under £6. One of the few cards in this tin that actually they got reduced. Let me give a quick rant about that for a second. Konami, if you want to make these tins 25th anniversary, why didn't you redo with the pack and split them into 2 different waves? That way we could actually have a chance to pull the cards we wanted and their prices could have gone down a bit. Sorry guys, I really don't like these tins. And I do plan on one day making a top 10 worst products I've ever made video, and they'll be on there somewhere. However, like I said, the one thing they do would make this deck more affordable by reprinting the Big Welcome Labyrinth trap card, and of course the transaction rollback, which I'm now playing in this deck. Also, this is going to be a furniture deck, not the current popular build, which is just stun with the 4 big labyrinth monsters in it. Nothing wrong with that deck. It's a good deck. It's a good counter to the meta. But if I was going to play that, I'd rather just play Runic Stun, which I think is the better stun option. So this is the furniture build that's looking to loop the furnitures for advantage and so forth. So that being said, let's start, shall we? First thing off, I'm going to play 3 copies of Ariana. Now this is the Stratos of the deck that can search as any labyrinth, trap or monster. And what makes this card so good compared to other Stratos-like effects is she's repeatable, because so much of our cards can bounce her back to her hand. In addition to this, when a monster leaves the field by a trap effect, she can then draw us a card and have us get our board even better by either summoning a fiend or setting a back row. So this card starts our gameplay off and can extend this in later turns. And again, it's repeatable thanks to Big Welcome bouncing it back to reuse to after turn, which you might need because of how grindy this deck is. And plus that, she's a decent beater and she's got a decent body to help you stall the game if necessary. Next for our furniture, very standard lineup here: 3 Torby, 3 Shine Drangler, 1 Q Clock. So what these 2 furnitures do is they can pitch themselves from the hand and top into the field as well to set you a labyrinth trap from the deck. So, and then with this card, you can then activate the trap at the same turn you set it. Ideally, what you want to do is you want to when you set Big Welcome Labyrinth, use it to get Ariana into rotation, and then in the graveyard, these cards will come to your hand when a card is a field by trap effect, which the Big Welcome will facilitate. And you can do that during your opponent's turn if you have this, because you can pitch this to activate a trap that turn, and this effect is quick. so you can actually get your players going before your opponent's turn even starts, and they have a chance to set up disruption against you. Also, by the way, because you're pitching a card with these 2 of their effects, one tick you can play in this deck is Scam, Malfunction, the Burning Abyss, along with possibly a Fafa, because you can go pitch one of these with Scam, do your labyrinth plays, then in the end phase, Scam switches a level 3 Dark Fiend, just saying. It is a bit of a brick, but I've tried it before and it's been pretty fun. You could also up this if you want to play more on the opponent's turn, or for a more going second build, but I found that kind of bricky, so I'm happy with this ratio. And for the big ones, to top this off, this is the very standard ratio. It's 2 lovely, sorry, 2 lady, 1 lovely, sorry, keep mixing these 2 up. So lady is pretty much the reason this deck's still seeing max relevant play in the stun variant, because she can stun herself when you play a trap card, and she can also cycle a trap from your deck whenever you activate a trap. So yeah, this card lets you basically cycle through a toolbox of one-off trap cards, which if you play, and also this alone under a floodgate can be very hard to deal with. This card, on the other hand, can reset our traps from the graveyard, and they can activate as long as you've got a fiend in the field. Also, she acts like a 10-pi field spell, by preventing the opponents from interacting with your trap cards when they're activated. And finally, when a trap card removes a monster from the field, she can pop a card on the field or at random from the hand. So if instead of going first, you can rip a card out of your opponent's hand, and then depending on how good your setup is, you can then rip another card out of the hand during their turn. Also, if you want to, because these are also if you want to, if you set both these up, you're going to get so much value. You're going to just drown your opponent in it. Then we're going to play 3 Aria, 3 Butler. This is the one I'm fiddling with at the moment. This is another way of play going second against your opponent, because this card can be discarded to set a trap and play it that turn. So going second, you can use this to set up something like either one of your Labyrinth traps to set your plays, or one of your traps to mess with the opponent, like Dimensional Barrier, for example, if playing against something like Tenpai, or any of the Synchro deck, or deck like Branded with its fusions. I don't know why I said Tenpai, because Tenpai would want to go first. Branded is a great example. In addition to this card can put itself back if your opponent tries to interrupt your Labyrinth plays, because if they interact with the Labyrinth card, this immediately comes to the field. And if you've got Ariana on the field, you now have access to Chaos Angel, which is one of the few abstract monsters we actually do play regularly in this deck. And one thing I've been playing in my build, I am playing the Unchained engine. So 1 Shavara and 1 Escape of the Unchained. Now, the reason I'm playing this engine in the deck is because any 2 fiends can make the Unchained, can make Yama, which can get you into this. So this will then get you access to this, which will trigger off your field spell. It gives you more removal, and it gives you a link to also non-destructively remove an opponent's monster. In addition to this card can be sent by playing any back row. So if we're playing one of our Floodgates, which we have played a couple in this deck, and it turns out they aren't good in the matchup going in game 1, you can set it, pop it, and then just 3 players from there. It's also a good way to get reflection rollbacks into the grave if you haven't got a furniture. And it's also a level 6, which is pretty good. Which would be good if you have the Fiendsmith engine. I haven't got the money for it at the moment, but if you do, I would recommend definitely playing Fiendsmith alongside this, because it gives you much more extension and a much better turn 1 board. Then we're going to have the 4 spells to play in the deck, which is 1 Lab and 3 Pots. Now, to be honest with you, you could also play 1 Prosby and some other way of drawing cards if you want to play more 1-offs in your extra deck, because this card does banish random from your extra deck, so you could lose all your Chaos Angels, especially if you aren't playing the maximum. It also, however, given the fact your extra deck is so small, you can pretty much play multiples of all your important cards and not really lose much. And a Pot of Greed in a deck like this is quite slow, is invaluable. This card turns all of our trap cards into amazing threats. If you play a welcome card, this card also gives you a pop instead of the summon. And if you play a non-welcome trap, you get Graveyard Revival for things like Ariana to get you more cards in hand, or one of the big bosses to help you deal with their opponent's board. And in addition to all that, this is one of the best looking field spells I've ever seen. So yeah, all in all, this is an amazing card for the deck. And the rest of this is all traps. So 3 copies of Big Welcome and 2 regular welcomes. Yes, I know I have 3 alties. I got very lucky when that pack was out. So Welcome's a simple starter. It summons a Labyrinth from your deck. And Big Welcome does the same thing, but it also requires you to bounce a card and to pick up this, it can summon from the grave as well. So this is basically how you summon your Lovely, either from the deck or graveyard, because Lovely is usually dead in your hand, so you want to summon it with furniture to get this if it's stuck in your hand. And in addition to this, both these cards have got powerful effects in grave. This card can bring us up back to the field if a card is removed by a trap effect the turn after it's played, which can be done with this, because if you've got level 8 Fiend on the field, you can use this to spin a card back to your opponent's hand. Do I got this right, guys? Now, what's really cool about this, by the way, is it doesn't say Labyrinth level 8, so this works well with Chaos Angel. So basically with these, you've got yourself a resource loop of summoning a monster, returning your searches for next turn, bouncing cards back to reset this to get more searching next turn. That is very hard one to beat, especially when you combine it with 2 copies of transaction rollback. Now, I'm only playing 2 copies of this, one because I only own 2, but I think 2 is enough. What this card does in the field is copy a trap in the opponent's graveyard, and with Yugioh you can banish it to copy a card in your own trap in your own graveyard. Both for half life points, but you're playing a trap deck unless you're in time. That doesn't really matter that much. Now, the funny thing is, the derivative effect is, the on-field effect isn't as actually bad as people might think it is. Yes, most decks aren't playing a bunch of traps, but a lot of decks are playing one specific trap that can be very good for you. Of course, I'm talking about infinite impermanence, in case you don't know. But in the graveyard, this card basically gives you 2 touches into this per turn, because it's copying the effect, meaning that the once per turn effect clause in these cards does not apply. So you're going to get 2 summons of big monsters, which can then trigger your lovelies and your ladies. And you're also getting just more searches in general with this. Also, second out copies to all these cards, which are your trap toolbox. Speaking of which, let's show you what we got. So first thing I'm playing is Triple Druma Cannon. This is the best trap, I think, in the deck, because what it does is it Book of Eclipses the entire field and destroys anything that's not flipped. So anything that can be face down, like a link or a card that's affected by this, for the flip effect, they're just gone. Which, when the best deck now is Snake Eye, which ends on a link board of at least 2 links, this can be really powerful. Honestly, if you're not getting back your welcomes, this is probably the best card to copy with this, because it really helps you clear fields. And one thing I've noticed in my locals is that a lot of decks are playing Dimension Shifter, and I've seen why, because it's so powerful. So we're playing our own Shifter in this deck. Yep, we're playing DDG. This is good against things like 2 elements. It helps stop Snake Eye from recovering as much, leaving them with a far worse board. And because it only banishes monsters, it's not as bad for us if we're forced to play under it. Yes, we lose some recur cards in the grave with Big Welcome, but we don't lose Big Welcome's graveyard effect or Welcome's revival effects. Sorry, returning effects. So yeah, this card is just, in this deck, it's just a better, searchable, repeatable Dimension Shifter. Yes, it's disgusting, but it's Labyrinth in 2024. You need something like that. Speaking of which, next we have the 2 other one-offs we can search for, which is the Virus and the Dimension Barrier. Yes, I know this is disgusting. What are you going to do? So this card lets you send a big Labyrinth to the grave, name Spell Trap, and pop all cards of the chosen type for 3 turns in the opponent's hand. This is great against Runic deck, which is a couple running about, and it actually is good at sniping. Many decks in general, depending on their hand. Like, I actually put this against a Churlman's player, and because it pops the Polar Rhino, they actually didn't have much to do that turn. And of course, Dimensional Barrier, if you're not playing a Link deck, then this card can just shut them down for a turn. You just name what they're playing. Like, you name Fusion against Banded or 2 elements, you name Synchro against Tenpai, etc., etc. Again, not great against Snake Eyes, but in that case, you just side it out. And game 1, you can pitch it to your furniture if necessary. And then we are playing 3 Floodgates in these 3. By the way, this should really be Rivalry of Warlords. Something I learned is this card is not very good when everyone's playing 1 attribute in their deck. So yeah, take this off for Rivalry, in my opinion. But anyway, so what this card was meant to do is keep the opponent playing at your pace, with only 1 monster on the field usually. This card's there to shut down spells, because we don't play many at all. And we can flip this after we've activated our field spell and draw them for the first pot. And of course, Skill Drain, we're playing a bunch of 3 key and 2 line beaters, so we can play into this much better than a lot of decks like Snake Eyes can. Honestly, the more I play this card, the more I think I should just ban all these kind of Floodgates. They make for very dull games. I'm starting to keep them in for now, because I think Labyrinth will struggle against some of the more modern decks without them. But I really would rather just play more, they print more normal traps or new support for decks that use these cards, so you can get rid of this unfun playstyle. Also, like I said, if you draw one of these in a deck that's not good against, like say, you're against, I don't know, Trap Tricks, and you draw this, you can just set it, and you can go Shavara, pop this, Unchain combo. And that was the main deck. Now let's quickly look at the extra. Please note a couple of these things will be proxied. So anyway, we got 2 Chaos Angels. I'll be having 3 of this once I get paid, because this got reprinted and it went down a bit from the new tins. 9 times out of 10, this is the only thing we'll be needing from the extra deck if we aren't going through the Unchained line. This card is a sync 10 that can use one of your non-tuners as a tuner if it's dark or light. we haven't got any lights, so we came with the dark effect here, which prevents other cards being destroyed in battle. In addition to this, on summon, it can remove a card from the field, and it's a 3/5 beta that's hard to get over, which makes the thing, which once you've used the pop effect, makes it really good to play with skill drain. Again, I'll be playing 3 of this when it gets reprinted, so hopefully they make it even better. Next, the Unchained package, 2 Yama, 2 Soul of Rage, and 1 Soul of Anguish. So we're going to start with Yama here. This card can be with A2 Fiends. So as long as you don't, and then it can summon your Shivara to your hand to carry on your plays. So as long as you open the 1 of and 40 cards, this card can turn A2 Labyrinth cards into additional pop, into 2 or 3 additional removals. But what you do is you summon this, you get Shivara, you then link off into this, and then Shivara will get you a trap. So and this card can then on your opponent's turn make a link summon with itself on my opponent's monsters. So that's non-destructive removal. And oftentimes you'll go into this, do the same thing on your own turn. But one thing you can also do, because it can make any dark monster, is go into this for additional piece of removal during your opponent's turn. And of course, this is all backed up by your Labyrinth traps and your trap toolbox. So that's really difficult for a lot of decks to go against. Speaking of SP, we're also playing 2 IPs to get to it. I'm doubling on the IPs because I really don't want this to go off my pot, so having a second copy makes them more unlikely. This can get you into the SP plays. It can also get you into this if you need to break boards. For recursion purposes, we have the Dark Charmer and Muckraker from the Underworld. Also, I'm considering cutting this for a second Muckraker. This lets you print back from your own grave. This lets you take something from your opponent's grave. Continue doing link to do some more link climbing to the Unchained stuff, or into an IP into SP. And for Xyz, 1 Zeus, which gets overlaid on a Typhon, which was with a Typhon. Now I don't want a Typhon yet, but someone pulled one from the tins when I was playing, so I borrowed it. But to be honest with you, I never really went to Typhon. It was mostly just playing this and the Unchained package. So that's the extra deck. Again, not as relevant as it would be in a lot of other decks, other than the Chaos Angel. And now for the side, 1 Happy Duster. This is for mirror matches or other trap heavy decks, and this will get much better when that new trap monster archetype comes out. 1 other card for the toolbox in Ice Dragon's Prison. This is in the side because a lot of decks at my local this isn't very good against. But it can be really good against something like, say, Tier. It's another way to disrupt the graveyard, and a good piece of removal. And then if I'm playing against a deck where I'm being full, where I need to go second and my traps won't be very good, I can still sort them out for a bunch of hand traps. By being 3 Ash, 3 Droll, and 3 Nib. Nib in particular is really good in this deck because it can be bounced back with Big Welcome to repeatedly act as a board wipe. Ash Blossom is obviously just Ash, it's played everything. And Droll borrowed in against FTK decks because people also play Game Puppet. It can also shut down any other deck that's trying to search for its combo pieces. And also, if opponents bring these against us, they can be sent for this. And because of this, I'm also playing the Dimension Shifter because this card should have been banned. It is the most unfair card in the game right now. Sort this card. Anyway, yeah, this is probably my favourite side deck card because again, it gives you more varied gameplay. In that it's interactive. It depends on what your opponent's playing. I mean, just something different with it every time. Obviously, you're also going to be setting a hand trap from this. But one thing you could also do with this, actually, let me just make sure I got this right. What you could do with this is actually send an Unchained card in Shivara to just awe the trap to prevent them from activating if you're playing against Yubel or another that uses the engine. So yeah, that was my Furniture Labyrinth deck. Is it as good as the Floodgate variant that's basically just stun? No, but it's a lot more fun. And again, I would recommend Fiendsmith if you have access to those cards. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.